friends, it's Miss Drywa. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. So for this week for math, we're going to be switching to fractions. And I know fractions can be a little difficult, and I know sometimes they're hard, but since we have this time, we're going to take it slow. This week we're just going to be going into the basics of fractions, the beginning of fractions, you know, our numerators, denominators, what is a fraction, what does it mean, what does it represent, different ways we can see fractions. And then next week we'll get into more in-depth equivalent fractions. So let's just take it slow this week and focus on how to even write a fraction, how to identify a fraction, parts of a fraction. So basically that's what we're going to do all of this week. All right, so let's get started. So we have fractions, right? Let's go. So basically, when you see a fraction, this is what you can see, right? You see a 1 with a line and a 2. But what does that mean? Now, for my friends that don't know, or my friends that just maybe do remember learning this and need a review, your top number is your numerator. Okay, that's what that is called, your numerator. Everybody's saying numerator. Awesome job, numerator. Then you have your bottom number, right? And that's your denominator. Everybody say denominator. Awesome job. These are some tricky words. But basically, friends, I'm going to go through what they mean, and we're going to go over some examples. But basically, those are just the different numbers, right? And if you can somehow try and remember denominator, right? It starts with a D. Just think down. Put the denominator goes down. It's down under, right? Under the line. So denominator down. Numerator up, denominator down. All right? So that's your number that's down under your line, your fraction line. Okay? But what do these words mean? So your numerator, friends, oops, let me move myself over, again, is your top number. But really the numerator tells us how many equal parts are being described. So when I look at this fraction, I know that they're only talking about one equal part. Okay, that's it. If I come over here and I have the fraction 2 out of 4, I know they're talking about 2 equal parts then. Whatever the case may be, maybe I'm saying I had 2 out of 4 slices of pizza. Well, basically, I'm telling you that I had 2 equal parts out of the whole 4. All right, we'll get to the 4 in a second. In this case, I have a 1 out of 3. So I'm only talking about one equal part. Only one equal part. Maybe I can say I broke one of my 3 pencils. I'm only talking about one pencil that is broken. Okay? Now I have 3 out of 5. So my numerator is my 3, and that means I'm only talking about 3. 3 out of 5. Maybe 3 out of my 5 cats have green eyes. I'm only talking about 3 that have green eyes. That's what we're describing. We're describing the numerator, and that's how many. That just tells us how many they're talking about. Whatever the case may be, whether it be how many slices of pizza or pie, or how many pencils broke, how many cats, how many dogs, how many girls, how many boys. It doesn't matter. It could be anything. But the numerator tells us how many equal parts are being described. That's what they're talking about. All right? So then we have our denominator. And remember, the denominator is down under the fraction line. Down. It's down, underneath. The denominator tells us how many equal parts are in a set or whole. So basically, we just said that the numerator describes how many they're talking about. And the denominator is telling us how many parts were all together. So with the fraction 1 out of 2, if I'm saying that I took 1 out of 2 cookies, the denominator is telling me that all together there were 2 cookies. And the numerator is describing how many I took, which was 1. So if I look at my fractions up here, the same fraction we just talked about, I have 2 out of 4. And I said that I had 2 out of 4 slices of pizza. Well, the 4 is telling us how many slices of pizza there were all together. Your denominator basically tells you how many there are all together, whether it's in a set, whether it's on a number line, whether it's on a circle. We're going to see all those different types this week. But the denominator tells us how many are all together. So in the fraction of 1 out of 3, right, I said that 1 out of my 3 pencils broke. Well, that's just telling us there was only 3 altogether, right? There were 3 pencils altogether and 1 of them broke. Then we have 3 out of 5, or 3/5. 3 out of 5, well, if I say 3 out of 5 of my cats have green eyes, that's just letting whoever I'm telling, if I'm telling you, that's just letting you know that altogether there are 5 cats. That's what the denominator is saying. It's how many equal parts there are all together. All right, friends, so now let's take a look at an actual fraction here. So if I have this here, right, I have this square and it's broken up into equal parts. And if I want to write a fraction to represent, basically just showing somebody, I'm going to show you guys and you guys can show me, or you could show your friends, or just to show someone, that's what represent means, to show them what is being said in this picture. Well, we can do that with our numbers, because first I'm going to find, and I'm going to tell you to find your denominator. It's easy. All you have to do is find how many equal parts there are in the whole entire big square. So we have our whole big square here. And how many equal parts make up that square? Well, I count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 equal parts. So I'm going to put 4 here. Now, 4 is how many all together, and my denominator tells me how many all together. Well, I can know that denominator, D, down, goes down under the fraction line, right? But how many are shaded? Because that's going to tell me my numerator, because that's showing me that maybe this piece is missing. Maybe there were 4 pieces of paper all together, and somebody took the 1 piece. Well, I just see 1. That's it. 1 out of 4 pieces of paper are missing. Easy, right? Let's do another one. Now, you can start with your numerator. It doesn't matter whichever way you want. Okay? So, I just look, and they told me that some of the pencils are missing. Well, I don't know how many, but they showed me this. Now I can write. I count how many are shaded, right? So I count 1, 2. I write 2, and I draw my line. And now I have to figure out of how many. 2 are shaded. That means, let's say 2 are missing. 2 are shaded out of how many all together? Well, I count. 1, 2, 3. Out of 3. My numerator is 2, telling me how many are being described, how many equal parts are missing or eaten, or are they talking about? And my 3 tells me out of how many all together. So 2 parts are shaded. Only 2 parts are shaded out of 3 all together. So I get 2 out of 3, or 2/3. Okay, let's do another one. Now I look at this one. So we're going to start with how many are shaded. How many are shaded? I need to figure this out. So I count. 1. Only 1 is shaded. My 1 goes there. Now my shaded part is above. It's my numerator, right? That's what's being described. So I have to put my line. Out of, this basically means out of how many. This line is telling you out of, right? So I'm saying 1 out of how many altogether? Well, I just have to count, friends. 1, 2. So 1 out of 2, or 1/2 of the triangle is shaded. Right? Simple. Let's do another one. Hopefully this is getting easier for you, friends. Count how many are shaded. That's going to be our first step. Let's start with that. Our first step is how many are shaded, right? Let's make this easy on everybody. So I just have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 shaded. And if I'm going to say out of how many, well, out of, I make my line. That stands for out of. How many altogether? That's what we need to figure out now. We just count. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 6 out of 9 squares are shaded. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, friends. Okay, so let's just review briefly before we leave. So our numerator is on top, our denominator is down under. Okay? Our numerator tells us how many equal parts are being described, whether it's eaten, whether it was the shaded parts, whether it's the missing parts, whether it's the parts that came to the party, whatever the case may be, that's how many parts they are talking about, okay? 1 out of 2, 2 out of 4, 1 out of 3, 3 out of 5, right? Then we have our denominator, and our denominator, which is down under the fraction sign, under the line, right? Down under the line. The denominator tells us how many equal parts are in one set or whole. So how many all together, basically. Your denominator is saying how many all together. All right, friends? We're going to keep going over this all week. Don't worry. I know it's a lot, right? Numerator and denominators those are not easy words. I know that. Trust me, I do. However, they are math words that we need to know and we need to get familiar with, at least seeing them, because they're just going to be there, right? There are fractions. And basically just need to know the numerator's on top, denominator's down under. Our numerator tells us how many parts are being described, how many shaded parts, how many missing parts, and our denominator tells us how many all together. Okay, so how many equal parts do you see all together? Doesn't matter what's shaded, what's not shaded, just all together, the whole entire thing. All right, friends, so now you have a worksheet. Great job. Have a wonderful day. Bye.